where they endure months of perpetual darkness.
So they have to use sound rather than sight in order to find their way around.
That's Aaron Mooney, a marine biologist at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution in Massachusetts. He says belugas have really fast hearing, too.
Sound underwater travels 5 times faster than it does in air. And so those guys have to basically perceive and utilize sound 5 times faster than we do.
He and his colleagues traveled to Bristol Bay, Alaska, to test belugas' hearing in the wild. They captured 7 belugas for routine physicals and played them a series of frequencies while measuring the whale's brain activity with electrodes. Turns out the whale's hearing was sharp and similar to that of captive belugas, which means they could appreciate sound ranging from about 4 kilohertz to 150, a frequency nearly 8 times higher than the upper limit of our ears. The results are in the Journal of Experimental Biology. The older belugas tested in this survey still had decent hearing too, but that might not be the case for belugas living in noisier Cook Inlet near Anchorage.
There's a lot of military activities, a lot of commercial activities in Cook Inlet, and those animals are known to be declining at a rate of about 2% per year. And we think noise is a major stressor to those animals.
And now that researchers know what wild belugas should be able to hear, they can test Cook Inlet belugas to see whether that underwater noise is literally deafening.
In the celebrity vaccine wars, I'm siding with actress Amanda Peet. And comedian Bill Maher, well, I like your show, but when it comes to vaccines, you don't know a punchline from a clothesline. Maher recently tweeted to his Twitter followers, quote, "If you get a swine flu shot, you're an idiot." On his HBO program, Real Time, last week, Maher went head-to-head with former Senator Dr. Bill Frist, who patiently explained why vaccines were, in fact, good. But Maher wasn't buying it. He advocates a healthy lifestyle over vaccines. But polio and smallpox outmatched many robust immune systems. Actress Amanda Peet, meanwhile, has used her celebrity to encourage vaccinations, specifically in response to the alleged vaccine autism connection, for which there's no scientific evidence, but which has some parents afraid of childhood vaccinations. In a letter to a parenting magazine, Peet wrote, quote, "It's irresponsible to suggest that virtually the entire medical community and the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics are behind a massive cover-up about vaccine safety," end quote. See you in line for the flu shot.
What makes someone sound sexy?
Do I make you Randy?
To get a scientific viewpoint, researchers gauged volunteers' responses to different voices. The conclusion: voices considered attractive send messages about body size. The work is in the journal PLOS ONE. In the animal kingdom, sound indicates size and intentions. For example, a rough and low frequency call suggests that the vocalizer is large and aggressive, while a clearer, higher frequency signals a small, non-threatening animal. In the study, researchers adjusted a variety of voices to correspond with different body sizes. To do so, they synthesized completely artificial voices and recorded sentences before varying the pitches and resonance. When volunteers listened to the sound samples, men preferred higher-pitched female voices like this one, which suggests a smaller body size. Low-frequency male voices that signaled a large body size were attractive to females. Interestingly, breathiness made both male and female voices more desirable. It certainly explains the enduring popularity of Happy Birthday to you.
Humans can recognize each other by voice alone. I sound different from other
60-second science
reporters, for example. In fact, lots of non-human animals of all types use voices to distinguish familiar individuals, including frogs, fish, lemurs, and penguins. And that unique audio fingerprint extends to a sound you may have heard in the forest on occasion: the drumming of a woodpecker. Researchers recorded multiple drum rolls from 41 great spotted woodpeckers, colorful red, white, and black birds living in Polish forests. They then used audio software to analyze them, and they found that the length of the drum rolls and the spacing between beats varied enough from bird to bird to tell the woodpeckers apart by drumming alone. The study's in the journal PLOS ONE. The scientists say this fact might be useful to woodpeckers in identifying each other, and to conservation biologists trying to tease one bird from another in a recording, for example, to count individuals in a given area. The bird's headbanging could thus do away with that research headache.
That's Generation Zero of Darwin Tunes. It's a website researchers are using to study how listener preferences affect the evolution of music. A new study claims that the taste of the public exerts a force on music similar to natural selection. The findings support the theory that culture and art are shaped not only by their producers, but by consumers, too. The report is in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Researchers created short tunes and allowed them to procreate. That is, they'd combine aspects of the parent tunes to produce a new generation of music. User ratings on the Darwin Tunes site provided the evolutionary selection, with only the most appealing tunes allowed to create progeny. The researchers found that quality increased quickly at the beginning. The random sounds rapidly gave rise to something an awful lot like music. Here's generation 600. But after a while, things stagnated. The researchers plan to update the program to drive evolution further. Meanwhile, here's Darwin Tunes Generation 3000.
I once took part in a vodka tasting contest in which participants tried to tell an expensive brand from a cheap one. I don't recall the exact outcome, for obvious reasons, but I do know that several people swore they could taste the difference. Well, maybe they could, because according to a study in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry, different vodkas can have different molecular structures, which could drive drinkers to favor one brand over another. Vodka is an alcoholic beverage that's supposed to be relatively flavorless, so researchers got to wondering, how come people who enjoy the stuff often express brand preference? Being good little scientists, they trotted out their spectroscopic equipment and examined the chemical signatures of 5 different vodkas. What they found is that each brand differs in how its ethanol molecules cluster. In the ethanol water mix we call vodka, some of the ethanol molecules get surrounded by a sort of cage made of water, and different brands differ in how much ethanol is caged. Vodkas with fewer cages might seem more watery than those with more structure. Of course, drink enough of the stuff, and it really won't matter how tightly caged it is. You'll be loose as a gray goose.
To a female orb web spider, a suitable male can look like a mate and a meal. For these spiders, the dating game has turned into a deadly dance of evolutionary one-upsmanship. The female spider can choose when to cut off intimate relations by eating her partner or kicking him out. This dynamic has led males to an unlikely strategy to make sure they have some say in the matter: self-castration. Males are able to leave part or all of their organ inside of a female, which decreases the odds the female will be able to mate again. But new research shows that when a male leaves his whole kit and caboodle behind, his likelihood of fathering the next batch of eggs is much higher. Why? His parting gift keeps on giving, even after he is gone. This remote copulation technique actually boosts the amount and speed of sperm transferred to the female. The behavior is described in the journal Biology Letters. So, for these unlucky fellas, it is better to have loved and lost.